President al-Assad tells Annan the countries that fund, arm and harbor terrorists should abide by the 6-point plan. Syria expels the Dutch charge d'affaires in Damascus and gives her 72 hours to leave the country. Russia and China reiterate rejection of any military intervention in Syria. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our news for today. President Bashar al-Assad has discussed with the UN envoy to Syria, Mr. Kofi Annan, and the accompanying delegation the situation in Syria and Annan's 6-point plan. The meeting also covered ways of overcoming the obstacles hindering Annan's plan, particularly the escalating terrorism in certain Syrian areas. President al-Assad pointed out that the armed terrorist groups had noticeably escalated their terrorist acts recently in various areas across Syria, killing and kidnapping Syrian citizens and targeting public and private properties. The president stressed the need to stop funding, arming and harboring terrorist groups by those countries which were not committed to Annan's plan. President al-Assad affirmed to Annan that the success of his plan depends upon stopping weapons smuggling and acts of terrorism and those who support them. For his part, Annan commended the positive coordination between the Syrian government and the international observers. In a press conference, Annan expressed the anxiety of the international community towards the violence in Syria, especially the events in al-Houla, pointing out that the Security Council called for an investigation into these events and for punishing the perpetrators. He referred to the Syrian government's decision to conduct an investigation into al-Houla massacre, describing this as very encouraging. He expressed his gratitude for the cooperation of the Syrian government with the UN in deploying the UN observers. He called on all sides to stop violence immediately. Syria has announced the expulsion of the Dutch charge d'affaires in Damascus. The Foreign and Expatriates Ministry gave the Dutch diplomat 72 hours to leave the country. On the other hand, the spokesman for the Czech Foreign Ministry, Fet Kolar, said that his country has no intention to suspend the work of Syrian diplomats. This followed the decision of many Western countries, along with Canada, Australia, Bulgaria and Japan, to terminate the work of a number of Syrian ambassadors inside these countries in order to foil Annan's 6-point plan in Syria. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Gennady Gatilov said Russia opposes the convention of a new United Nations Security Council session or any other United Nations Security Council measures on Syria in the near future. Commenting on the German Foreign Minister Guido Westerwelle's call for a new United Nations Security Council session, Gatilov expressed in statements today Russia's belief that it is premature for the Security Council to consider any new measures to affect the situation in Syria. On Annan's plan, Gatilov said it is necessary that this plan be allowed the chance to be implemented, and it is important for all outside players, including Western countries, to exercise pressure on the opposition. He considered as unacceptable for the opposition leadership to politically and publicly call on behalf of the Istanbul Council for armed fighting, whereas the Security Council has not approved armed intervention. Gatilov added that Russia will not allow a draft resolution at the Security Council regarding foreign military intervention in Syria. The Russian diplomat said the press statement issued by the chairman of the Security Council in connection with the tragic events in al-Houla represents a strong signal for all Syrian parties. China has reiterated its rejection of military intervention in Syria. In a press conference, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Liu Weimin expressed his country's hope that Annan's visit to Syria would urge all parties to implement the peaceful solution plan and all UN Security Council's resolutions with a view of starting the political process and dialogue. Leo said China underlines the need for a thorough investigation into al-Houla village incident, commenting on some Western states' step in terminating the work of several ambassadors, chargé affairs and diplomats in the Syrian embassies in those countries. Leo said, "I have learned this has had no impact on the Syrian embassy in China." Iraqi Foreign Minister Husha Zibari stressed the necessity of adopting a political solution through dialogue among the Syrians themselves to end the crisis away from any foreign intervention. Zibari said in a press conference he held in the Japanese capital Tokyo that the political process to solve the crisis must be Syrian, led by the Syrians themselves, and not something imposed by foreign countries or by ready-made formulas. He pointed out that the UN envoy to Syria, Kofi Annan, is the only one responsible to assess the situation before the Security Council and not by any other country. The governor of Hama, Annan, called on the UN monitors to be objective in collecting information and data about the situation in Syria. He reviewed with the UN team mechanisms of cooperation in coordinating efforts to render their mission a success in different governorates, stressing that the concerned authorities in the governorate will offer all facilities to help the UN monitors perform their task. A team of international observers also visited the sports city in Daraa and documented the acts of sabotage and the crime committed by the armed terrorist groups. An armed terrorist group today targeted for the second time with an explosive charged pipeline belonging to the Euphrates Oil Company between Abu Hammam and the Garanej districts in Deir ez-Zor governorate, causing fire at the site of the explosion. The pipeline was targeted by a terrorist group on the 21st of last month near Abu Hammam neighborhood. A huge fire broke out, but concerned authorities were able to extinguish the fire, repair the pipeline, and resume oil pumping. An official at the Ministry of Oil said the targeted pipeline transfers oil from a Tanak oil field to the second station T2. It is 12 inches in diameter. The company stopped oil pumping at the moment of the explosion. However, the production process has not been affected as the company has alternative lines through which oil can be pumped till the damaged line is repaired. 101 persons from Hama involved in recent events but did not commit crimes were released after pledging not to take up arms again or take part in vandalizing public and private properties. The number of citizens who turned themselves in to the authorities and went back to normal life reached 7,000. With this, we conclude our news bulletin for today. For more information about Syria and the region, you can visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Up next, the latest